I need for you to soak in what I'm about to present to you as information. Relax your mind, relax your body, breathe, and focus. The wonderful thing about what they're calling salat and what Allah is referring to as salat in the Quran is that it is the object of focused attention. I don't know if you'll ever hear anybody else explain it to you like that, but it is the object of focused attention. The opposite of focused is scattered. If your mind is scattered, if your nerves are scattered, it is impossible to make the proper salat. So I welcome you here on this Sunday, June 8th, 2025. Of course, I am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, and I'm going to be sharing a few words with you, a few sentences with you, and a few ideas that I hope will benefit you. Let's begin by talking about religion. Religion originally was about realignment. And if you look at the two words, religion and realignment, or even alignment, but realignment more specifically, you see that they contain mostly the same letters. Religion, realign. Religion, realign. And realignment was all about the maintenance of human life. This is the purpose for which the scriptures were revealed. So if anybody ever asks you, why was the Quran revealed, or why was the Bible given to humans? A great answer for them is that it was written so that human life could have a maintenance program, a built-in maintenance program. There's one thing in the idea of creating a human being, but there's a whole nother thing in the idea of maintaining that human being. Now, if I were to take that same logic and apply it to the computers, you'll understand it perfectly, because there's one thing to build a computer, but there's a whole nother thing when you talk about the maintenance that is necessary to keep your computer operating optimally. So the Quran was created by Allah in order to allow the human being to operate at his and her optimum capacity. Imam W.D. Muhammad said once that whenever human life becomes threatened, Allah awakens the mind or the minds of certain individuals to lead them back to life. And this is generally what we refer to as prophets and messengers, and also as seers, they're called in previous scriptures, especially the Bible. They're called seers, S-E-E-R-S, those who have insight into what they're seeing. Moses was a prophet whose concentration was on building a society of productivity. His mission was to lead his people into a land of milk and honey. A land of milk and honey. These are two symbols in the Bible and in the Quran, but people identify them mostly from their reading of the Bible. They call that paradise. Milk and honey. Milk is the product of individual effort. It doesn't take two babies pulling on the mother's breast in order for the milk to come. It takes one individual baby, whether it is an animal as such or whether it is a human baby as such. That individual baby is the one who has direct access to the milk. Honey, however, is the product of collective effort. No one bee can produce honey. It's always the result of collective effort. And you'll notice something about this collective effort. It produces a product that is much more sweet to the taste than the milk. The milk has a mild sweetness if you are trained to know the difference. It does have a mild sweetness, but nowhere like the sweetness of honey. And this is a life lesson for us to learn about doing things together. That whatever you do, that's you and your individual self, there's going to be some productivity, there's going to be some result, and you may like the result. It might make you some money and yada, yada, yada. But it's the collective aspect of working together that's going to bring the sweetness. Because now not only are you satisfied with your work effort, but now your neighbor is experiencing some joy. Your wife and your children, they're experiencing joy also. The people down the road who own the business that you support, they're going to experience some joy also. So that's when the collective effort kicks in to produce a more sweet product. A truthful leader is one who addresses the real problems and concerns of his people, who in the Quran are called a qawm. Qawm represents people who share collective concerns. So qawm has nothing to do with the milk people, with the cattle people, the people who operate as cattle and they only move because somebody else moves. That's what the cows do. They move, they stampede, they run, they rest because most of the rest of them are doing that. But the people who are under the designation of qawm, and by the way, this word is a product of a root letter or root letters that also give us the word qiyam. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard the word qiyam, which most people assume means to stand up. I'm sure that's what you've heard. Qiyam, stand for prayer. But qiyam in its essence doesn't really mean to stand up. Stand up in its essence means to establish yourself. Doesn't mean physically stand up. It means to establish your concerns. It means to establish your family. It's speaking to those who establish their community based on their responsibilities to not just themselves, but to each other, who establish themselves because of the collective concern and the collective need to do for more than just the individual self. So we're talking now the essence of community life. In the word qawm is the essence of what Allah is speaking to as the human being's community life. See the C-O-M in community? It's related to the qawm. We just say community. You see the C-U-M in the word come, as in sperm. It's related also to qawm because it's a collective effort. No one sperm is on that journey. It's a collective effort. The leaders of this type of people called qawm are only missioned to address the problem spots in that people's development. So when you read the Bible or when you read the Quran and you're reading about particular prophets, Moses, Noah, Jonah, so forth and so on, you're reading about prophets who were missioned only because there were issues in the growth and development of that particular people that needed to be addressed. It doesn't mean that those were their only concerns. It means that those concerns were so pressing that there was a need to send an intellect among them that could address those concerns. These are the areas which are preventing them from growing and developing into a natural community. So wherever Allah sees that taking place in society, He sends that kind of leader. We have different names for them. As I said earlier, prophets, messengers, seers, so forth. Griots, there are different names throughout history. It's not just what you find in scripture. The difference between true leaders and false ones is in their intent. Think about the people who are postulating today in the world as your leaders. A true leader wants you to follow him or her so that the collective will be free, while the false one wants your support so that he or she will grow as an individual presence. They don't want their presence as a people to grow necessarily or to become more advanced in the world. They could care less about what benefits come to the group of you, to the collective mission that you thought you were joining. They could care less. They are about self-promotion so that they can advance their individual selves, even at the expense of the majority or the group. They will canvass your feelings first and then design a program around what they already know you want. Whereas a true leader will canvass the environment and tailor their knowledge around what they know you need, regardless of what you want. That's the difference between a true leader and a false leader. The false leader looks out into the environment and says, well, let's see where they're heading first. Let's see what their desires are. And then that leader begins to feed your desires, even if those desires are leading you to hell. Whereas the true leader looks out in the environment and he sees that there are behaviors that you are participating in that are sure to lead you to hell, and he leads you away from that direction like a good shepherd would into the area of more advanced opportunities and of safety for that group. When you look at the word false, you'll see that it is consonantally connected to the name Iblis. The F, as you know, interchanges with the B. So the FLS in false is the BLS in Iblis, which is from the verb falasa, which in and of itself represents a false covering. This should be balasa. Let's make that correction. The root for Iblis. Yes. And that root word represents a false covering. The word true, True, is consonantally connected to the word Taurus and Taurat or Torah, and is also related to the word torso. Now, when we speak about the torso, we're talking about this area here beneath the shoulders and above the abdomen, the torso. The Quran says that the Quran itself was revealed upon Muhammad's heart. And the heart is the central concern of the torso, along with the lungs, but particularly the heart. The issues that true leaders address are directly related to your ability to think, which takes a brain, and to feel, which takes a heart. These two major functions are found most typically in the torso. Now, you might say, well, the brain is not in the torso. No, but the lungs are in the torso, and the lungs are why you are able to breathe. And in breathing, you're feeding oxygen to the brain. And of course, you all know what the functions of the heart are. It keeps the body alive and sensitive. So we can say this a different way, that the issues that true leaders address are issues that are related to the sensibilities, which are typified in the brain, sensibilities, that which gives you sense, and also the sensitivities, which are typified in the heart. This is the central focus, or should be the central focus, of all people who consider themselves to be Kaum. Now, Kaum does not mean all people. Kaum represents the people who identify with what you identify with. It's what Imam Muhammad used to call the group soul. The people who share a group soul. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have souls like other humans. It means that the concerns that they are addressing, when they are addressing that group's soul, that group's sensitivities, are going to be particular to that particular group and might not be a part of the concerns of the broader community of people. They might not be concerned about what kind of food you eat or what kind of clothes you wear or what kind of entertainment you enjoy. They're not concerned about that. They're not of your particular group soul. So there's that soul, and then there is the broader human soul that we all share. So I want you to see the group soul, and then over and above the concerns of the group soul, I want you to see the human soul. And the human soul operates like air, A-I-R, air. We just got finished talking about the ha, that letter, ha, the breath. And air is the only element that all people have to have access to pretty much all of the time. If you hold your breath, you might be able to do it. Some of the best who can do it, they can hold their breath for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, maybe. Some people maybe a little longer, but eventually you're going to have to let that thing out and breathe in. Because air, no matter what your so-called race, no matter what your so-called ethnicity, no matter what your so-called politic is, you all share not politics, not wealth, but air. If you are a living, breathing, biological being, you need air. So we have air in common. So whatever air represents symbolically, we should know that we all need that regardless of our political, ideological, and so forth kinds of differences. You can differ on those levels, but that's not the most significant difference for humans. We at least have to have in common what air represents. Now we're back to that letter again, aren't we? Ha. Hayya ala salah. When Allah breathed into that creature of his ruh, then everything began to submit. You see how powerful that ha is? Yeah, when breath or when air is breathed into a creature, then everything begins to move and groove accordingly. So we're talking about the ability to enliven both the brain and the heart. That's what makes you a human community. And that is also what is necessary to regulate your smaller groups and smaller concerns. You have to have common sense. You've heard that word, common, common sense. The sense that you all share as common people. You have to have that. And then you can grow into a broader sense when your intellect is functioning properly. So these two major functions are found most typically in the torso. The lungs supply the brain with oxygen, and the heart pumps blood to the brain and throughout the entire system. And this is what keeps you human. Different way of saying that is your spirit, air, and your sensitivities, heart. Your spirit, air, and your sensitivities, heart. We live in a world where many people have schemed for many years to put themselves into positions of power and control over many masses of people. That might be a bit redundant, but I wanted you to understand what I was saying. Many masses of people. There are people sitting outside of the normal social circle, and their every move is designed to gain more and more or maximum control over the masses of people. As people, we all have wants, and those wants will be individualized. However, we also have needs, and those needs represent that which we all can identify with. So we have wants. We're born into these family groups. We all share the same last name or whatever it is we're sharing. We share the same roof, the same home, the same basic environment, same family members, that small group. We all have that in common. And we have our individual needs within that family group. Some people need more quiet than others, and some people need noise. As soon as they get up in the morning, they turn on the radio or they put their headphones on and whatever, and it's got to be a sonic boom happening through the headphones for them to get their day started right. There are some people who can't seem to live without arguing. It's first thing in the morning, they have to argue about something, anything. Their nervous system is not right until they begin to argue, become combative. So these are people's wants. And wants, as I mentioned, is individualized. You have to go from individual to individual to individual to determine what their wants are. But above and beyond their wants are something called needs. And the needs represent that which we all can identify with. We all need food, even if we have different individualized tastes in food. We all need to be clothed and comforted by something that will keep the bad weather off of us. All of us have that need. We all need shelter. It could be in a cave or it can be in a luxurious mansion, but we all have that one need in common to be sheltered. So there are certain things that you can mention that a human being needs that all of us share. And we don't have any differentiation or any problems recognizing that other people also have these needs. Where we differentiate as to what level of comfort these people should be experiencing. Yeah, they need a home, but make it the slums. They need food, but make it this artificial stuff we've been churning out. It's least expensive. It's less costly on us if we make it so that it's not really real food, and just give it to the masses of people.
Processed food.
Processed. Excellent word. Thank you. Yeah, processed food. When this world was still undeveloped, meaning unexplored, as a primitive expression of life, the challenges were quite different than what we have today. The attention in the ancient days was to be on the natural world of light, meaning the sun, the amount of light you could get from moonlight, the amount of light that you might get from starlight. So these lights are what grabbed our attention in the ancient world before the invention of the street lamp and the light bulb and all of these other things. So that's where our attention went as so-called primitive people. It went on the absence of that light, which we call darkness. It went to the water when we would look out at the ocean or the sea or the lake. It went to the land when we were talking about growing things for survival's sake. And it went to other living things. We saw other animals and insects, birds, things that creeped and crawled and things that ran fast and things that moved slow like the turtle and the tortoise. That's where human attention was. Now you have to be able to look back. You have to be able to arrow back to those days of human development in order to understand the importance of where we are right now in our human growth. Things contain threats. In the days when we lived apart from other tribes, we weren't worried about invading armies. We weren't worried about high interest rates like we are now. We weren't worried about the price of apples and oranges and steak and food and these. There was no such thing as those things for us to be worried about. The human being was worried about an invading storm or some other nature disaster or natural catastrophe or some animal that might invade his space and threaten his small budding environment, some animal that might be vicious enough to swallow his child, something like those are the concerns that we had in yesteryear that most of us do not have, and not at least in the civilized portions of the world. We don't have those concerns anymore about nature being the antagonist. But even before that threat surfaces, human beings became a threat to themselves. Listen carefully. Because the human being is always attempting to improve upon his human form. It's his fitrah to do that, to always look at different means and methods for improving upon his human form so that life can become that much more easy for him. That's the purpose in choosing this over that. Is this going to be easier for me? But in doing so, he is subject to do a thing that destroys himself. He's constantly experimenting with things. And some of those experiments leads to his decimation. This is why leaders naturally come into existence to keep an eye out on these proclivities for self-destruction and accidental annihilation. He's playing around with the H-bomb. He's playing around with the other things and these diseases like this Fauci guy did. He let these diseases loose out of the laboratory. Human beings are always doing that. He's not the first and he won't be the last. Scriptural knowledge was intended to save us from these unnecessary pitfalls along the way of our growth and development. So people who are educated into scripture are being educated by a force and a knowledge base that is way above human pay grade. And Allah says throughout the Quran that he has knowledge of that which you know not. So his knowledge is above our pay grade, and that's why we depend on him to keep human society alive and thriving. But if we depend on our own idea about what life is and what life should be for us, then we're going to begin choosing things that benefit us individually, but not necessarily collectively. And as we chase those individual things, there could still be something in that individual quest that will bring about our total obliteration or annihilation. Because the human being is foolish, as Allah says in the Quran. He's foolish. The next threat is when an outside invader seeks to take his home or property away from him. So we already have a threat coming from ourselves because of how we see ourselves, this small view that we have of what a human is. And we are also threatened by the tribe that exists on the other side of the mountain, who don't necessarily look like us. They don't act like us. They don't dress like us. They don't speak like us. So, yeah, they're human, but they're not us. So, the first threat is from the physical environment: the lightning, the thunder, the rain, the storms, the cold, the heat. But the second threat is from strangers that want to subdue you, people you never met before, but their intentions are sometimes devious because they want what you got. So you put up a fence around you and your family to keep the strangers and the wild animals out. We put up a roof and we put up walls to protect us from the outside threats to our environment. The first threat is from what are called the vicissitudes. Look that word up. The vicissitudes of the natural environment. And that has nothing to do with what is moral or not moral. All of it is what is called the amoral. It has no moral connection, connotation, or anything attached to it. It is just nature expressing itself. That's the first threat to human existence, just a natural, raw, neutral nature. Lightning doesn't have a moral mind, but it will strike you if you're in its path. A monsoon or some other kind of rain, if you're in that particular forest at that particular time, well, you may get hit by it. And nature doesn't think a second thought about it. That's nature. That's your first challenge. The second challenge is where morality and ethics enter the picture. And it is when the mind begins to differentiate between the differences and distinctions between oneself and others. So keep that in mind. The first threat, natural environment, natural circumstances. The second threat is when the human mind begins to come into the picture, when the human mind begins to expand and grow and starts to want the things that are outside of his smaller circle. He sees them in your bigger circle and he wants those things for himself. Sometimes he even wants those women for himself. He wants that wealth. He wants those homes for himself, the things that he doesn't find in his smaller environment. And he will go all of the way outside of his country to find those things. That's how most of us got here. We over sitting on the dock of the bay in somebody's Africa, and somebody came along with a ship and said, get in. We got you, get in. Because people want what they don't necessarily need. The part of the human mind that distinguishes is the part that brings us into scientific research. Understand that the plan of Allah is in effect at all times, in all situations. So let me repeat this part. The part of the human mind that distinguishes, that makes separations and differences, that part of the human mind is the part that brings us into scientific research. The word research means to search continuously or repetitively. We call this level of research science. For those of you who believe that the Arabic word ikra means read, then you should also understand that Allah's repeating of the word ikra within the same ayah is indicative of how the human being's mind comes into science. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ a second time. وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Read with the name of your evolver, the one who involves you in order to evolve you. Read in the name of that one who created. خلق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم. Read, and your evolver is most generous. See, the first time that Iqra is mentioned is talking about that which comes with creation, khalaq. And I told you that the word khalaq, khalaqa, and khalaq has to do with programming, a particular level of natural programming that goes into each and everything created, whether animate or inanimate. Everything in creation has its specific programming. Even if it's a rock, it has atoms and molecules and other things attached to its creation that gives it its marching orders. And it does not operate outside of those instructions. So that's the first level, khalaq. The second level is khalaq al-insana, that he created this creature called al-insan, the human being, min alaq, from an attachment, an attaching substance. Some people say a clot of blood. That's incorrect. It is from an attaching substance. That's what an alaq is. So the first level is just native creation, natural creation. You'll grow as other things grow. The second level, though, of ikra is when the generosity shows up. Something above and beyond what you got just as a normal, natural thing on earth begins to show up and influence your life and your existence. Because that is a part of your human development that Allah is calling alaq. And alaq means an attachment. Something that is attached to you like a leech. They call it a leech-like clot sometimes, because a leech is going to take something that you have from you. Some blood or something is going to, if people are leeching on you, you know what that means. All of your children are leeches. Literally, every baby born is a leech because he's leeching off his mama. She's leeching off of her mama. Literally, off the breast, leeching the milk. But they're doing it because they need the nutrition necessary for their growth and development into a life form that doesn't allow them to leach anymore, where they become more and more independent as a life form. So Ikra wa Rabbuk al Akram. It's your Rabb that's doing this, the one who is evolving you. He's the one doing this. And he is doing it to the level of development that Allah calls akram, from karim, karama, generous. But this is the ultimate in generosity, akram. الذي علم بالقلم. Now we're getting into the science part. He is the one who taught the human being by use of what's called the pen. Now we know that the idea of a writing pen was not in existence 1400 or so years ago when this revelation was being established. They may have had other utensils that they fashioned as a pen, but we can't necessarily picture people writing in script and print and those kinds of writings. So the pen was kind of an enigma as an idea for writing. But we are talking about something that Allah created as an instrument to communicate messages. الذي علم بالقلم, the one who علم, who taught, but that word علم is alim, علم, ilm, knowledge, science. So this is how Allah began teaching human beings what we today call science. He did it through the use of the pen. What is the pen that Allah used? I'm going to take an educated guess here. And I'm going to say that the pen is representative of the human being's spine. And that is how all knowledge and science comes into the human world. It comes through your spine. What do you mean by that, Instructor Bilal? Meaning that every single message that enters the mind through any of the five basic senses has to begin its journey by first impressing itself upon your human spine and your nervous system.
How about penile gland?
Not there yet, but you're on the right path. We're talking about the pen. See, pineal, I see where you're going. Pineal. Yeah. So it is impressing itself upon the spine. The spine is the sacred pine. You know, the pineal gland is shaped like a pine cone. So we're heading in that direction. Thank you for that contribution. That was excellent. This spine is worthy of your attention when it comes to studying human science. All ideas in science begin with the impression left upon the human spine by information. Every sound that you hear first impresses itself upon the spine. If someone creeps up from behind you and scares you, you're going to feel it along your spine before you feel it anywhere else. Because your spine is the lookout tower to see what's going on in its environment based on what it hears, not necessarily what it sees first, but what it hears first. The Quran says we have heard and we obey. Speaking back to Allah, we have heard and we obey. Not we see and we obey. We have heard and we obey. So again, this represents the beginning of the sciences. And when these things repeat themselves upon the spine as sounds, as influences, as signatures, that's when we begin to do something called locking it into the memory. It's the repeatedness of what is going on that locks it into the memory. It has to be repeated. Ikra, and then ikra again. And that's what is creating an opportunity for what is called ilm. Ain, lam, mim are the letters in Arabic. Ain, lam, mim. The letter ain means the eye, this eye. So we're back to that which affects the pineal again, the pineal eye. Some people connect it with the third eye, although it's different, but we won't go into that today. The idea is that the ultimate objective of this particular organ is vision or sight. So that's Ein. In the metaphysical sense, it represents not only sight, but insight into something. This Arabic word is actually a sentence when you read each letter and what it means. So it's insight, Ein, and you get that insight from struggling. You can feel it when you pronounce the letter Ain. It's from the back of the throat. It's called a guttural, as Adib Abdullah would tell you. He loves that letter. It's called a guttural. And that struggling in the back of the throat produces a level of moisture in the throat. But the moisture is as a result of the straining and the struggling that the throat has to go through in order to pronounce that letter. Or in the instance of a person choking on a chicken bone, they're going to produce all kinds of saliva also from their attempt to get that obstruction out of their throat. And that's what the letter means also. It means obstructed vision. When you attach another sound to it, the sound of ra. When you attach ra to ein, then you have the letter rein, which means obstructed vision. So whatever word you come across in the Arabic language that has the word or the letter ra attached to it, I'll let you go through them for yourself. غير المغضوب. You hear all those lines in there? Those two lines in there? غير المغضوب عليهم. Can anybody translate that into English? Where are you students of Arabic out there?
Yeah.
They alone to be worshipped.
Do we beseech for help
No, you got to go a little further down the Al-Fatiha pole to get the meaning. Good try, though.
uh, 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 oh man, Guy will to, to mm.
Take your time. Breathe. Who are the Al-Maghdubi? Let's start there. That's a people. And see, this is what I mean by them shortchanging us in terms of the information that they share with us when they teach us Arabic in the average one of these masjids or madrasas.
about the right path?
They take us they not only do they restrict us from following the path that will lead us to the benefits of the Creator.
Well, let's keep us on the right road. Somebody just simply translate Al-Fatiha into English slowly.
Bismillahir Rahman Rahim. Alhamdulillah
In the name
Rabbi
of God,
Alamin.
I want you to
most
translate it into English.
in the name of
Oh,
God, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to God, the cherish and sustain of all the worlds, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. You thee worship and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed your grace, and not those who go astray. So Gabriel is to those who go astray.
No, those who go astray are
And
Adolim. So you're missing
not
an
the
important
path,
part.
not the path.
Keep going. Stretch it out. Think about it.
Those who incur your wrath.
Stop there. Excellent. Say it again.
Those who incur your wrath.
Everyone hear that? So El Maghdubi are the ones who are incurring wrath.
I was just going to add, I was searching in the book, Hadaba,
Mm-hmm.
that's the root I found, to lie, to say what is not a fact, to lie falsely, falsely invent, tell lies about or against, or fabricate a lie. So uh, those who spread falsehood, those who deny,
Okay, I think
that's
you're a little bit
the
off in the search for the meaning. A little bit off. We're looking
okay,
for the letters Radaba. Radaba.
Hadaba.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Those who earn, those
Yeah.
who earn thy wrath,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
those who earn thy wrath, or
Okay,
those who produce
that's how it's normally translated, but it means more specifically,
Man.
it's speaking to a group of people called the angry ones.
Oh,
Okay, so you're saying how they translated is what I read to you.
Yes,
Okay, because I even found that from the Kadaba roots, I find
yes,
Makdubi here. Makdhubin is how they spelled it.
yeah. That's a different word though.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a different word. So we'll
So
go through Al
ain't
Fatiha in detail
to
when we
go
can.
away?
No,
Hmm.
Ra, Rain, Da, Ba.
fine, ba. Okay.
So the angry ones go astray.
Yeah.
Or the displeasurable ones,
What
displeasurable.
The ones who are
those who do
creating the.
wrong, those who do
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and
God.
those who do wrong and displease their God.
Yeah,
Almighty Mahadubi.
but
Yeah.
take the stories out of it.
Right.
Ooh.
Think about your nervous system. When your nervous system becomes overexcited with anger, in this case, there's a
Hot
famous,
tempered.
hold on, there's a famous hadith of the Prophet where he
Do not
told
become
someone,
Don't
that's
be
right.
angry. Don't
Yeah,
be angry. Don't be
yeah,
angry.
He said
yeah,
if you're standing, sit down.
yeah.
not he frowned, right?
And it huh? And,
No, different word.
Okay.
and then if you're sitting, lay down.
That's right.
Was that in that concept?
That is absolutely in that
Okay.
context.
Okay.
And it says, do not get angry. He gave him some
Yes,
advice.
yeah, 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, count to 10, huh?
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the lesson.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, we're growing.
Billah.
So the anger is what's causing
The
the
destabilization.
the issue in the vision, the obstruction, as we like to say, for Rein, obstructed vision. The anger is what's causing the obstruction. That means you can't see clearly. It doesn't mean you can't see at all. Doesn't mean that you don't have any insight. You don't have Ein. It means that it is being obstructed. If you listen to that sound, that the gargling sound, is something there is being obstructed, and it's got to come out in order for you to be successful. If you're choking on something, that chicken bone has to come out before you can be successful. So that's what we mean when we say radaba. All of this has to do with the development of the sciences, believe it or not. So let's continue so that we can see the connection. غير المغضوب not of those who become angry, angered, disrupted in the nervous system. Waladolin, and who do not go far astray. That's how you become astray. The Quran has given you the process by which people go nuts. This is the formula. This is what our social scientists and psychologists should be working with. The exact 1, 2, 3 process for becoming nuts. Now, some people don't like that language. They think it's cruel, rude to call people nuts.
Instructor Bilal, does that
Yes.
mean that are you speaking about people who've taken a covenant with Allah and they become angry with the law and then they go out and commit all kinds of terrible sins and
Well,
after they've received the clear guidance?
take the stories out of it. Whichever way it happens in nature. When things become off center, when you move away from your equilibrium, from your balance, and begin to favor the left or the right in the extreme. It happens to political parties, it happens to economic groups, it happens to religious leaders. When you leave the center, which is where the spine is, and you begin to focus more on one side or the other, you start to lean and you mean and, and all of that. And you got it and they don't have it and they can't have it because you got it and you're going to get more from them. But when you start to pick up that mentality and you become imbalanced.
They don't have any kushu?
Any what?
Kushu.
Cushion. Is that the word you used?
Kushu, kushu, yes.
Yeah, cushion. Yeah, that's a great word to use. Yeah. Every bone has cushion.
No, I'm
Yeah,
not saying cushion.
What are
I'm
you saying?
saying kushu.
Oh, ghusl, you give me an Arabic word. Yeah. You're talking about
Yeah.
yeah. That fear and that
Yes.
reverence and the obedience that they should have.
They don't have it.
No, they don't. That's where a lot of the problem is. But let me continue now. Okay. So to research means now you see how we just did a little research and look what we came out with. We just kept going back to the point, and that's when Allah gives you the goodie. So we call this level of research science. And science is given as the word ilm. Ein, which is the I here that you're seeing because of the vowel connection. The lam and the meme. So let's just do this so you really understand. Ein, lam, oops. Ein, here I go again. Okay. Lam, meme. So we already know what the ein means. It means I, and in this case, it represents insight. We're talking metaphysics now. What does lam mean as a part of the body?
Tongue.
The staff.
Tongue.
The tongue,
As a part of the
communication.
body. Yeah, not as something in the environment. That would be staff. But as a part of the body, tongue, and as Adib just said, communication. Did I spell that correctly? I think so. Okay. So this word is going to mean insight into something, into the communication of something. What is that something? It's given to you in the word meme. Anybody can tell me what it means.
The
The
stomach.
universe. How about the
Stomach.
universe? Oh, yeah, well,
Okay. Some people are saying stomach.
I say the cosmos. But
Yeah,
it's
the male squirrel,
You get a
the
gut
balls.
feeling.
Say it again now.
I said the balls for the male.
The
testicles?
testes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Into it.
All right. And why did you say that?
I'm sorry, I have background noise now. The kids got let loose,
We
but
can't hear you. We can't hear them,
okay,
pardon me. Yeah.
perfect. So the because it regenerates, it's the sperm, and then it always empties and then it refills. It's about the emptying and the refilling we cannot miss.
Okay.
Oh wait, am I lying? I'm thinking about bait. What am I
That's
talking
Yeah.
bait. That's
Yeah.
bait.
Okay. He came to
about?
your rescue. He's on time.
Sorry.
I would say intuitive consciousness, because inside your gut, in fact, gut is the German word for God.
Mm.
That's a generative operative and dissolution.
And
But
what does God give you insight into or instructions in if you're thinking about the creator, that God?
yeah,
He's giving you instructions
Generator,
into what?
operator, dissolver.
Hold on. Let me ask my question first.
Okay.
He's giving you insight into what instruction?
into
Think,
the
think simple.
okay, and to
You
divine
just said it.
instruction.
Is it the
Intuition.
elements?
Mammals.
What is the creator most interested in us doing as behavior?
Elevating?
Say it again. Pardon me.
Elevating to rise?
Yeah.
Rise to our higher
Rising.
human consciousness?
Could even be,
Submission. Submission.
Self
even be, but submitting to what?
Obeying.
Thinking,
Obeying.
Obeying what?
The master plan.
guidance, moral,
Yeah. What is the guidance for? Somebody just said it.
Master
moral,
plan. No.
self
Moral.
mastery.
Yeah. Moral is another way of saying what?
Water.
Good and bad.
yeah,
Okay.
decent,
Oh.
decency.
Mean
Clean and
more.
filthy.
Oh.
Yeah,
Why we just left?
decency.
Okay. So it's insight into the communication of moral
More precepts.
ideas,
Okay. More
moral precepts. That's right.
Mm.
That's what ilm is. That's what the purpose of knowledge is to differentiate between what is good for you and what is bad for you. What will move your life up the ladder towards success, as the song says, up the ladder to the roof. Or it will cause you to miss that next rung and everything comes falling down like that egg in that nursery rhyme.
And Imam, you say this is co-science, conscience, CONSCIENE, co-science,
Okay.
distinguishing right and wrong.
All right. I'm not clear on what word you're using, but you're headed in the right direction.
Science, doing the right thing, distinguishing your conscious, distinguishing, I'm not consciousness, but co-science, distinguishing between right and wrong. CONSCIENCE.
Oh, you're talking about conscience?
Not conscious.
Okay, go find that word for me and bring
I
it back
think it's
so we all
leading
know
to
so we know what you're
human
talking about.
excellence.
the
It's
distinction
something
between
that's going
more
to
and
lead
Hold
to
rational.
on, I
human.
can't hear everybody at the same
Okay.
time.
One at a time.
The insight is something that leads to human excellence.
It should. It can, but not necessarily. But you're on the right track. Right track. Wonderful track. Let me finish with this, okay? Before everyone chimes in again. But I appreciated that conversation. Let me finish though. Don't jump in now. Let me finish. So this word ilm has to do with insight into the communication of meme. And meme, as you know, the standard meaning is water. So let's put that where you won't forget it. Or it's any liquid that sustains life. All right. Insight into the communicate. See, so until the human being was able to communicate morally, there was going to be no growth in the sciences for him or her. Science comes when you're able to apply what it is you're learning scientifically to the growing, developing life of the human intellect and human society. That's when you can take the science that you're learning and apply it to human involvement. Until then, all you have swimming around in your brain is what the average animal has, who cannot apply what he sees around him. He cannot apply it scientifically. He gets no more insight into that thing. No matter how many years he lives on this earth, he doesn't get any more science. He doesn't get any science. He hasn't done anything scientifically. The worm, the bee, the buzzard, the turtle, they don't do things scientifically. They do things instinctively. So let's continue. Science is a pure product of the human intellect, meaning there's nothing else on earth that produces science except for the human intellect. That's a gift from Allah. He says, no, pardon me. He says that, he taught us by use of the pen. And I told you the pen is that spine in the back that's receiving messages. It's like one of those poles or something where the radio signal goes out and it hits the tower. That's what your spine is doing. It's collecting information. And that's how science is produced, through the collection of that information and the application of that information. So remember those two words, collecting and activating. Collecting and activating. And by the way, the word ikra in its most appropriate use means to collect. From the verb qara'a, ikra, qara'a, it means to collect, not read. Reading is just a collection of letters to form words. So in that sense, yes, it does mean to read. But in its scientific application, it means to collect, like the farmers do when they go out in the proper season to collect the vegetation. The vegetation has to be ready. It has to be the right season. So this growth into the sciences happens at a particular level of season, when the human being is ready for that next level up from his Rabb, the one who is constantly evolving him. So let us look more closely at these words. We always use the word intelligence. This is from the Online Etymology Dictionary. If you'll notice the century that these words come into view, always compare them with the centuries in which the European Renaissance was in full effect. And that was from the 12th century all of the way up into the 16th, I think, century, when the Renaissance, the rebirth of knowledge and science in Europe, was in effect. Because these were the years that they were meticulously studying the Quran and other resources, but particularly the Quran. So it's from the late 14th century, and it means the highest faculty of the mind, capacity for comprehending general truths. And the rest is basically the same thing. Understanding, knowledge, power of discerning, art, skill, taste, discerning, appreciative. That's interesting. Has anybody ever told you that intelligence was related to appreciation? And I told you that appreciation in its truest meaning means to become more and more refined, more and more valuable, as when your money appreciates in the bank. To come to know. This is from assimilated form of inter, which means between, and legir, which means to choose, pick out, read. You get it? Ikra. Read, that's what they say. But it means to choose. to pick out. Isn't that what you do when you harvest?
Yeah.
When you go to harvest, you don't look at the corn that came up bad and say, I'm going to put that in my bucket or in my basket. You don't look at the apples that are already half rotted and say, I'm going to bring that into the farm or onto my table. When you choose, you're only choosing from what your mind tells you is the best. And that's the purpose of the human intelligence or the human intellect, to determine what is best and choose that for yourself and for others.
Isn't it the example that we got from Prophet Ibrahim?
It's the example we got from every single person who had an intellect.
Mm-hmm.
So to gather, that's what ikra means, to collect. You see it right here. This is in the online etymology dictionary. I didn't write this.
Okay.
No, not you personally. You know, I'm not talking to you personally when I say you didn't write. I know you didn't write this. I'm talking to everybody, all right, to collect, to gather, with derivatives meaning to speak or to pick out words. This is beautiful when you understand it. And when you understand the connection to what the Quran is saying, when it gives us the word ikra, qara'a, ka, ka, the qaf is related to the English letter C, right? When you pronounce it as K, ka. The R, Qur'an, Qur, qara'a. You see it in the L right there. Giving it away once you understand the consonantal connections. Look at the word science. Here's where the juicy part comes in. State or fact of knowing. What is known? Knowledge of something acquired by study, information, also assurance of knowledge, certitude, certainty, from the old French science, meaning knowledge or learning, application, corpus of human knowledge, and blah, 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 blah. Now look at here. Look at this here. Intelligent, skilled. You've heard of the word school. Well, that's related to the word skill. You go to school to develop your skill. Present participle of sire, S-C-I-R-E, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it means to know. Now, here's where it gets real interesting. The original notion in the Latin verb probably is to separate one thing from another. Remember, now that's what you're doing when you're harvesting also, when you're gathering the fruits of the vegetation. You're separating one thing from another, and you're distinguishing between the best ones, the halfway looking ones, and the ones that you might feed to, you know, the life forms that show up at the side of the road somewhere or something. You're not interested in taking that into your house. Or else to incise. This is related to shindir, to cut, to divide, to cut, split. It's the source also of a word that means to split, to rend, to cleave, to divide, separate. Now, the root of this word means to separate, to cut, to split, to divide into sections. In nature, this is necessary, but in sociology, this is dangerous. In other words, in nature has a need to divide and separate things. Even when it comes to surgery, one of the main purposes of a surgeon is to split you open and take something out. A disease, an infection. So for that reason, cutting and splitting and dividing and separating it's necessary, but it becomes tragic and unnecessary when you do that to humans. When you split, rend, separate, divide humans who were meant by Allah to be together. Allah tells you that in the Quran. Created you as one community. So when you come in with a scheme to do something other than what that oneness suggests, unless it is for purposes of surgical removal of a people, of an infestation. These people are acting outside of the fitra. We got to get them out of here. We got to go to war against them. That's what your body does every day. It goes to war against infections. It goes to war against outside intruders. Your white blood cells are soldiers, and they will sacrifice themselves for the greater good. Because once the white blood cells attack the enemy, cancer cells or whatever it is, the white blood cells die. They don't live to see another day. They die. This is the fitra I'm telling you about. So the Quranic equivalent is the Arabic word Shia. You've heard of that. The Sunnis and the Shiites. They made that word up to fit that logic. In the Quran, though, the word Shiite simply means to separate. Allah says, do not divide yourself into Shia, into separate groups. Allah says, don't do that. He says, lest your power leave you. He's telling you what's responsible for your downfall. Muslim world, look at yourself. What's responsible for your weakness in our time? What's responsible for your downfall? That you have divided up the entire Muslim world into Shia. Now, I don't mean Shia, the religious sect. Now, I'm talking about Shia conceptually speaking. Most Muslims on this planet right now are Shia because they're fractioned. That's all the word means. Fractioned and separated so that the strength that you would normally share by being together has been lost, dissipated, disappeared, as they say now when they kill something. He disappeared him. Now, so that fractioned group of Muslims are what in today's lingo is called the Shiite. And there's more to say about that. In fact, let's say it now. In English, we have a bad word called the shit. And people don't like to be referred to as shit. But it's just a word out of early science in the Western world that they learned from this word, Shiite, because it means to be separated. It means to be separate. You see how it comes out of your body? Comes out in separate pieces. Comes out separated. Now, in that stuff is science. Yeah, they study feces. You know how much science they have pulled out of feces?
Oh, yes.
You know how much science they have pulled out of the waste of animals in the field that cause new plants to grow?
No waste
They call it fertilizer.
Mhm.
So think about the fitra. The fitra is neutral.
Mm.
It's not, the fitra is not up there saying that's stinky, that's nasty. The fitra doesn't know nasty.
Right.
It knows science and development and cultivation. So you just have to apply that rule to your world. And understand that when Allah tells you not to divide yourself into Shiite, he's telling you stop dividing yourself into something stinky and offensive.
Mhm.
And what makes it stinky and offensive is not a physical thing. It's a metaphysical thing. It's the fact that you like to stay away from other people and not share what it is you have as resources so that the whole can grow. You remember what we said at the top of this conversation? Now look at the word knowledge and we'll be through. Acknowledgement of a superior honor, worship. For the first element, see the word know. The second element is obscure. So that's where your scientific investigation has to kick in. They're saying that the word ledge, they don't know where it came from. The second element. They know what no means, but they don't know what ledge means. It's a, remember what we were talking about? Ein, rein. It's obscure. They said maybe it's from the word lock, action, process. It's found in the word wedlock. I'm telling you that the word means what you know it to mean. It means that there is a point at which you should not cross. That's all it is. Like your window ledge. Yeah, it suggests to your brain, don't go any further than the ledge. So what does that say for the word knowledge? You should not go any further than what you know. Stop pretending to know more than you know.
It's a protection.
Huh?
I said
Yeah, it's a
that's a
protect.
protection
Yeah, that's
for
to
your
protect
soul.
you. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And believe it or not, that advice is given in several places in the Quran. So the capacity for knowing, understanding, and yada yada. Now let's get to this part here, which some people don't understand. It says the sense of sexual intercourse. Did you know that the word knowledge meant sexual intercourse? I taught that to you if you were in my class back then. But the word, where did they get that? Well, how does the word know? How does K-N-O-W mean S-E-X? I don't understand, instructor. Make it
But,
plain.
well, to know
It's
somebody, you
biblical. It's biblical.
That's my point. It's from the
What's it that
Bible.
to know
It's
somebody?
from the Bible. When the Bible says that, and Adam knew Eve and begat Cain, it is saying that Adam and Eve, they did a little bit of the wild thing.
It was a Zoji. That was a Zoji, man.
However, if you're thinking that this is a physical act, you're wrong.
It's
Right.
metaphorical.
It's metaphorical, it's metaphysical.
Physical.
And it's talking about something that is operating inside each and every one of us. Let's look at that, what that is. Be patient with me. Hold your comments so we won't come out in the recording all loud and confused sounding. I appreciate what you're saying, though. Time for y'all to start writing some papers, some term papers. The human mind is both masculine and feminine. When we are sharing information, it is masculine. In the Quran, that's called dhakr, dhakr. And I'm sure most of you have heard that word.
Mm-hmm.
It's related to the word dhikr,
Mm-hmm.
but we're talking about dhakr right now. That's the standard word for male in the Quran. The Hebrew version of that is the word sakr, S-A-C-R, sakr. That's the Hebrew word for male, and it also gives rise to the word sacred. So when they call the male sakr, they were calling the male sacred, but not because he was a biological male. They called him sacred because the ability to think and project knowledge outwards into the world, the ability to teach, to collect information and have it benefit those people outside of himself is a product of the mind. That's what the mind is created to do. That's a part of the mind's fitrah, whether you be male or female. That's what your mind has been designed to do. And when we are on the receiving side of information, it is feminine. And in the Quran, it's called the untha. And Allah says in the Quran, and the dhakr is in no wise like the untha. And people think it means that the dhakr is somewhat superior to the untha. No, you wouldn't have anything to dhakr about if there was no untha. If there was nothing going in, there'd be nothing coming out. I think the way I put that is plain and clear.
Mm-hmm.
If there was nothing that went into the mind, there's going to be nothing coming out of the mind. So the untha is actually a degree above the dhakr. You got that? So we're going to stop on that point.
Let's hop out.
And there will be more to follow, inshallah, next week. But study what I have given you thus far. If you have questions about anything, that's when you email me, you pick up the phone, you call me, you text me, you do all the things you do ordinarily to ask me about stuff that is not related to this. Don't be afraid to contact your instructor for some instruction. This is what we need to be on as information. This is what is going to help separate you in the best way from those who are not following this particular trail. This is the trail that is actually going to reestablish scholarship in the Muslim world and in the world generally speaking, because this goes way above and beyond what we call Muslim knowledge, meaning knowledge that is only beneficial to Muslims. Knowledge that all we have to do is teach it to other Muslims and don't worry about the Christians and the Jews and the atheists and these other people on earth. So what, they are on earth, they'll die off, and Muslims are the only ones going to paradise anyway, so to hell with them. That's our present day mindset as Muslims in the world I'm talking about. We're the only ones worth heaven. We're the only one worth paradise. So don't worry about what the Christians and these kafirs are doing. Don't worry about no. You don't understand that the kafir that the Quran is speaking about is in you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Muslim is in you.
Mm-hmm.
And the mu'min is in you.
Mm-hmm.
And the munafiq, the hypocrite, is in you.
Mm-hmm.
And until you are able to identify exactly where they are, you are going backwards. You are just moonwalking your way through life. You think you're going forward, but you're actually going, you've seen the moonwalk, what they call the backslide. You know, that's a word from the Bible also.
Is that Dhaka and Untha could be termed dielectric magnetism?
It's related to any one of those dualities, my friend.
Okay. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. Great question. Yeah, anytime you see a dichotomy, it's called a dichotomy, especially in science, it's going to be related to Dhakar and Untha. Just like electricity, what's the opposite of that? Or the companion of that, I should say? Yeah, magnetism. Yeah, same thing. One of them is Untha, one of them is Dhakar. Which one is Dhakar?
Masculine.
Say it again.
Masculine.
No. Is it electric or is it
electricity?
Electricity.
That's right. And you can see it in the lightning. It goes out.
Yes.
Magnetism, you see it pulling in.
It's pulling in.
That's
Yes.
Untha, that's the female.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of the elements and what they do are feminine. And the Dhakar is in no ways like the Untha.
Mm-hmm.
See how beautiful that comes together?
Yes.
Yeah. The ability to project is not as great an ability as the ability to pull in.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what the seed does in order to germinate. It's got to pull in the moisture from, right? The water. It's got to pull in the nutrients from the soil.
Yes.
And all we did was put in the seed. Look at what the female does. We put the seed in her. That our job is done. That's it. We can walk away and not be seen again. But look at what happens inside of her, in the Untha part of the development.
Oh, man.
Bashir, you had a question?
Yeah, on the part of these people putting up this counter information was used to extinguish our desires to dream and conceptualize in the form of science and in conversation. Because this took away all of our desires. It just occurs that this took away all of our desire, this mindset, this mind, this counter intuitiveness. They don't want us to think about anything except, I guess, physical small things.
So aren't you, what's the word? I don't want to say lucky.
I would say.
What's the alternative word for lucky?
Fortunate.
Fortunate. Yeah,
I like that word.
That's the word
I
I'm
like
looking
that
for.
word. In this day and time, I'm fortunate.
Yeah. So
Um,
don't look back and complain about what hasn't been done. Look forward to what you can do now that you know.
mm,
Yes.
World
Yeah,
of
that's where the
possibility.
opportunities are.
Yes.
hmm
Take all of the bad stuff out of what it is your mind is trying to say and do, and why they didn't, and how come we're still back and held back, and the black, and how come they treat us so bad. You got to learn to divest your mind of every single one of those nasty attitudes and negative attitudes, because the only person that is hurting is you.
You. Yes.
This is our reparations.
I
This is
wouldn't
our
even call I
reparations.
wouldn't even call it that.
Well,
You don't need to be repaired. You were never
yeah. I
broken.
mean,
Listen,
this is
listen, listen. Shh, 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 shh.
okay.
First of
Yeah,
all, you're screaming, and
I'm
that's going to
sorry.
come out in the recording, and I got to
I
keep it.
didn't want. Yeah, I don't mean to. I'm
This way,
excited.
yeah, I know you should be, but do what I do. Practice microphone control. Lean back, lean forward,
Take
Lean
back.
back.
So yeah, you were never broken. So you don't need to be repaired. I'm talking about even those of you who are what they call suffering from whatever, mental diseases they say you got.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome.
You know the letters. Let me tell you something. That's really a part of your genius. You just haven't come into that yet. You don't understand what the transition is all about. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying don't continue to take your medicine. Instructor Balassa, I ain't got to take my medicine. No, that ain't what I'm telling you. We are dealing with all kinds of stress, and it's unnatural. So for that reason, you got to do that which is necessary to bring that back to its balance. But in the meantime, if you work on what I'm telling you to work on and what I will be advising you to work on in these next few months between now and the end of this calendar year, you're going to see improvements in your own behavior and in your own mental, moral, and spiritual development that are going to surprise you.
Yes.
But so you mentioned, you keep going forward. Sometimes you have to learn and recognize what you have been through and appreciate, what in my life, understanding now what you're talking, what Warith Muhammad talked about, and what we learned in the first resurrection, which was helpful. There was something in that, but it's if you don't use the word reparation, it's restoring back to our wholeness, because we
That's a
need
good way of putting it. But
restitution.
I generally don't like words that begin with re, because you're really doing something that's already in your control. You don't have to redo it. So you really don't have to be restored, remade, and all of those other re words that they keep giving
No
you.
rebirth, no
All you
rebirth.
have to do is listen. All you have to do is activate. It's in you already. It's dormant,
Oh, no doubt.
but you just need to learn how to activate it. Just activate it. Those dormant seeds, that's what seeds are when they're in the ground and they're not given the proper nutrition to be able to become activated. They are already in you. They're already planted. They're just ready for the right nutrition to come in, the right water, the right rain, the right sunshine, the right nutrients, the right kind of soil. If any of those things are off, then the growth will not happen. But it doesn't mean that the potential for them happening is not already with you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's already in you to be the greater that you're looking to be tomorrow.
There was a term that was used by Imam Muhammad that I like based on what you're saying, and that was we must be grounded in our own reality.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And the ground is going to have all of the nutrition necessary to activate the seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else have any last minute questions? I'm listening. I'm giving you a chance.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. There was a book. I think you met this gentleman by the name of Kaba. What was it?
Yeah,
Coleman. Yeah, you know
yeah,
him from the Bronx, right? You know him.
yeah,
And
sure.
he put out a book, Spirituality Before Religion, and spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality.
Yeah, that's a wonderful book if you don't have it. But
Yeah, that's a great.
yeah, I'm going to be introducing some other books to you along the way um, that are
I
going to
think
do you
right.
good.
I think he'd be proud of you today. What you have. I'm gonna tell him when I see him too.
Well, I don't know him personally.
Today.
I know of his book. Yeah, but you can pass my greetings on anyway. He's a giant of an intellect among us, and we have many of them. We have so many people among us that we don't need to read anybody else's books if we didn't really want to. But we have some giants that are producing books from the Muslim population now also. Some of them have been on this program. Yeah. Brother called Nadim.
Nadeem, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a new book out right now. It's coming out, a new book. And these are in the sciences. These people are enlightened for real. And they're not marching to the beat of the old school Muslim drummers.
Mhm.
This is the help that we've prayed for. And all you have to be is not so blind to think that only help can come from you and people who look like you. That's the tribal thing. That's the first
Mm.
level of your growth and development. That's the calm in you. But we want to move on to become an ummah. That's different. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, folks, be about your business. Make Nunetics happen for you. It's there waiting for you. It's your partner. It's waiting for you. It's just waiting to dance.
Yeah.
But you got to grab it. You got to say a few sweet words to it before it begins to
Yeah.
work for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, as you all know, this week, inshallah, at the end of the week, I'll be moving. So I'll be in transition, as I mentioned to you last week. And whatever you need to do to fulfill your semester requirements, please do it as early as you can. It'll help facilitate what it is I need to do, but you already know that. So make that happen for all of us, actually, because I need to be set up and so forth by the next time we meet, which is next Sunday. Um, And we have a whole lot of goodies coming your way. We're about to launch our own broadcast system, Nunetics Broadcasting System. William and I have been working diligently on this new broadcast system. And it's not for Instructor Bilal. I can stay on YouTube and do what I need to do. But I need for you to have your own personal vehicle that you sign into, that you sign out of, that you put content on, that you want to present to the world as long as it gets the stamp of approval from those people who know this science. And I'm trying to get you to know this science. So you won't have to check in with me as often when you want to broadcast something. So start putting your ideas down on paper. Start talking to people and bouncing it off of them and see what they say about your understanding of Nunetics. And I always start like this when I'm talking to people who don't know this science. I say, tell me how this sounds. Does this sound like it makes sense to you? If I was looking at the word whatever and putting them together based on the meanings of these letters, does this make sense? The word which means mother, does it make sense if I say strong glue? And then explain to them how you've arrived at that conclusion. That the letter Aleph means that which is strong, and that Mim means water, but when it's reinforced, like it is in the word two M's, then reinforced water is glue. Water has tensility. Water has stick-to-itness. If you put water on something and you turn it upside down, the little bead of water still be there, but not like if you glued it. Not if,
Uh,
like if you glued something, now it takes more strength to get that thing away from that glue. And that's what a mother is. She's the strong bond that the family needs. The baby is literally leeching off of her, as we mentioned earlier. It's literally stuck to her and is getting what it needs from her until it doesn't need it anymore. After 2 years, it doesn't need that milk anymore. After 2 years, it doesn't need any milk anymore. But
mm.
we're not familiar with these fitra sciences, so we go on into our teenage, years thinking that milk is good for humans, and it's not. Cow's milk was made for calves, baby cows. You don't go around drinking horse's milk. Why are you drinking cow's milk? Everyone understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We have been taught backwards. The whole world has been flipped upside down. And it might not mean anything to you because you don't feel like anything's wrong with you.
Then you came with you behind it. I've been
But
drinking this for the longest.
the only reason you don't feel like anything's wrong with you is because you haven't experienced what it's like to feel right.
Mhm.
To feel in tip top form. You haven't felt that yet. I haven't felt it yet. To be totally healthy, I haven't felt that
Mo-
yet. But
Most of us have.
I
I'm
plan on
working
it.
on it.
Well, yeah, I plan on it. As long as I have life in this body, I plan on living my optimum life. And that begins with having the optimum mind. And I can't do
Yes.
that if I'm scared and scattered and not focused. So in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about the true meaning for salat again, but I'm going to be adding some other elements to it and how to inculcate that directly into your daily performance. The things that you should be thinking about and the things that you should be acting on a daily basis in order to reach the level of achievement that as-salat represents. Makes sense, everybody?
Makes sense.
You looking forward to it?
Yes.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. All right.
And getting
Absolutely.
chance
So,
is healthy for you, huh?
yeah.
Chance.
Yeah, that's where we're going. I know people have been asking me about that. How come you don't ever say what the movements are, what the this and the that and the words and the yeah, okay? Because you've been fed. Why take away your cornflakes and give you Rice Krispies? It's the same stuff. It's just shaped. It's just shaped different. I'm not going to take away one ritual and give you another ritual. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait
Mhm.
until you can stop and be still enough to appreciate what you're getting.
Yes.
I mean, appreciate it. Increase the
Mhm.
level of value in
Mhm.
it so that you're not walking around here just mumbling words that you don't understand. Allah never asked you to do that,
Mm,
to just mumble words that you don't understand. Even the mumbling of infants has a purpose.
mm.
So what's up with us at the teenage age and the young adult age, and we still mumbling words that we don't understand?
So we
Some
still
people would
baby.
some people would call that crazy. You just walking around speaking in language that you don't even understand I can see if the person you're talking to doesn't know what you're talking about. But if you don't even know what you're saying, and the proof of it is when we did the little Al-Fatiha experiment. That's why I did it. To show you so that you can see yourself not knowing. So that you can see for yourself that you have not been taught properly. All the years of reciting Al-Fatiha, and we can't still, to this day, equate what English word goes with what Arabic word.
Mhm.
No
Right.
more, no more of that. Those days are over. Yeah, that's strict, but that's what an instructor does. I'm not just an instructor, I'm an instructor. You've heard of a boa constrictor, haven't you? That's what I do for a living. I constrict so that you don't let certain things in you, and so that you squeeze other things that don't belong in you out of you. So that's my message for today. Thank all of you for being with us. As I greet you in the greetings of peace, I encourage all of you to keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
remember, peace means wholeness. It doesn't mean the absence of war. Salam means to be whole, to be complete. That's what we are wishing each other all day long when we give the people the greetings of salam. Nowhere in the Quran does it mean the absence of war. Allah says that fighting is good for you sometimes, right? Fighting.
Mhm.
He said you don't
Yes.
like it, but it's good for you.
mhm.
If your body didn't fight off disease and the cold and flu and all, where would you be? You'd be dead.
Right.
Fighting has been prescribed for you. How about that one? That's a doctor word, prescription.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Although you don't like it, Allah tells you He knows you don't like it. But it may be that you don't like a thing that is good for you and that you like a thing that is bad for you. That's
Right.
Allah's, those are Allah's words, not mine.
Mhm.
Got it?
Mhm.
Okay. Call me when you need me.
All righty, sir.
Salam alaikum.
Salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Mhm.
So put yourselves in a comfortable position.